Last week on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1, Coach Ed Young took Matt Hatfield behind the woodshed.
The over-under total in this game is 46. I'm going to go with the over.
You a fool!
Saints, Falcons.
I got the Rams. Yes, I'm going with that one.
You made me mad, and last week you jinxed me. You know what?
You know what? That makes me mad.
Don't make me mad.
I'm going to go Arizona plus the 2.5 against the Rams here.
Nobody in the world can help you!
Either it wasn't stated or he didn't listen, one or the other.
Last pick for me, give me the Chargers minus 1.5 against the Pats.
What kind of foolishness is that?
I think New England's going to go cross-country, and they're going to knock the Chargers off. Hey, now.
I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns, getting 5.5 this week.
Cleveland rocks.
Dino's real intelligent.
Tennessee Titans will throttle the Browns.
What a joke.
Let the party begin.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Good Saturday morning on this 12th day of December. It's 12/12/2020 here on ESPN Radio 94.1, and we appreciate you tuning in to another edition of 757 Saturday Sports Talk, brought to you by Larry King Law. If you're injured in an accident, you call 757-INJURED for Larry King. That's 757-595-8100. I am Matt Hatfield, and back in the saddle again, sitting across from me is the coach, Ed Young of Nansman River High School fame. He's going to have at least 3 rants today, folks. Dino Fran's other side of the glass, who, like me, is donning ODU Monarch swag today. He didn't get the memo, Dino. He's not wearing any ODU swag today. Bad job.
Yeah. Bad Ed today. Bad Ed.
I don't know if I have any swag.
Oh, well, we'll have to contact our friends and get you some. By the way, we have ODU basketball today, do we not? Big game.
Yeah, 4:30, VCU.
That's a huge game, Ed.
Oh, man. Is that here?
No, it's up at the Siegel Center. But you listen to it on ESPN Radio 94.1. I believe it's being televised by NBC Sports Network. Does that sound right? I think that's right. Something like that.
As Bill Braswell used to say, they're playing at the Rat Cave, Rat Center.
The Rat Cave? Oh, the Varmint Land, as some of our friends like to call it.
That's
the
my
place.
Former AD. He's not a big VCU fan.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that aren't around here if they're ODU fans. That's old rivalry there.
Right. Now, he is, I think he is VCU fan. No, he's the opposite. He is VCU fan.
Make up your mind.
Phil Collin, are you a VCU fan?
Phil Braswell, right. He's out there listening. 757-687-9494. We'll get you in here if you're Phil or anybody, whether your name is Phil or not. We'll talk to you, and we'll talk some sports and anything else on your mind. Holiday shopping, Ed has plenty of suggestions and ideas because, like me, I'm imagining he has gotten 0 gifts to this point.
Gift cards. But
why would you do that unless it's like one of those visas? Because all these restaurants are closing down left and right.
Well, they could do that. Remember, it's a pandemic. You're not allowed to go out and shop. Didn't the governor say you can only be out in the streets for like 8 minutes?
I don't think he's at 8 minutes. I don't think that was exactly
8 minutes, right. But it's only every other day. Except for the third week.
Yeah. Right. And it's like the VHSL. You got to wear purple socks with red pants, but you can't wear red socks with purple pants. However, you can wear blue pants. We'll get to that later. By the way, Monarchs are 7-point pups today. You know they are 0-4 against the spread, the last 4 Saturday games. I got a feeling that will change today. I'm not calling for the outright upset, but I think they'll keep it close. This is not a vintage VCU basketball team as we dive into the hoops there off the bat. They do have Bones Highland, and he's really, really good, and he lit up their last opponent. I think he got a 30-piece being in terms of points on the board in the last matchup. But to recap those picks, those were miserable picks. I don't want to recap these at all. I lost on over 46 Saints Falcons. I lost on the Cardinals because you got me with my heart and you got my emotions running high, and you got me on the Chargers. That might have been the dopiest pick of all time, me taking the Chargers, who get absolutely just lambasted by the Pats, who everybody then declared after they won that game, oh, the Patriots are back. No, they're not. They didn't even throw for 100 yards against the Chargers. They got 2 special teams touchdowns, and that team absolutely quit on Anthony Lynn, who should have been gone weeks ago. This is the same guy down 10 against the Bills, by the way, who decided not to kick the field goal because he's trying to get a touchdown. You need 2 scores. What are you doing? Anyhow, Rams proved
he won't be there next year.
No, he won't. And by the way, they haven't recovered ever since Tyrod Taylor of Hampton High had his lung punctured back in week 2. They've been all over the place since then. The doctor did that.
That was the team doctor. He won't be back.
Yeah,
next
that
year.
quack. He should be thrown out the window.
Plus, you mentioned New England. What they do this week? And
that's what I'm saying. They're not. The Rams proved that they're not coming back. So
I think the Rams are one you have to start watching.
Well,
now.
you had them over my Cardinals. You had New England, and you lost on Tennessee, which Dino got you there with Cleveland. The Browns. They didn't disappoint you this time, Dino. The Brownies got it done with the dog.
Yeah, they looked really good. Came out strong in that first half. Kind of let up off the gas in the second half, but there was no doubt in that game from right out of the gate. I mean, they just were all over the Titans in that game.
Baker Mayfield getting it done, and we'll see later on in the show if we go to a 7-5-7 flavor matchup. By the way, we have 2 William and Mary products coaching against each other. Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh. How about that loss to the Washington football team? And Mr. McDermott for the Bills, William and Mary products. So Sunday Night Football, if you're a Tribe fan, William and Mary pride there. You got Tribe versus Tribe. Some form of the Tribe will win. We don't know if it'll be Bills or Steelers, though. Got to tune in to find out. So there you have it. Speaking of which, we'll talk about the Washington football team later on in the show with Rick Doc Walker, who has been covering the team for a long time, was a member of their Super Bowl team when they won one of those 3 Lombardi trophies back in the day. He'll join us in the 11 o'clock hour, part of our Legends of Sports segment with our friend Coach Charles Hatcher of Sports Inside and Out. And we'll also have Norm Wood join us. Some people have Wood on Wednesdays. We got Wood on Saturday with Norm Wood of the Daily Press and Virginian Pilot to go over Virginia Tech UVA. Before we go to the phones, Ed, are you ready to give any bold declaration, Tech UVA, who wins today? You want to save it for later?
I'm going to save it for later. I don't think I'm going to change the pick.
So you know who's going to win the game?
I'm pretty sure I'm not. I knew coming in the year I'm picking in this one.
We'll play some buy or sell, so maybe we'll do it then. Buy or sell, some college football style, maybe even throw in a basketball question with buy or sell. So a lot going on today. We'll have a poll question for you to chime in on as well on our Sports Talk page, which is 757 Sports Talk on Twitter. And again, you can always call the show at 757-687-9494. Would you like to go on your rant or take a phone caller?
Phone caller.
All right, 757-687-9494. I think this is your cousin Bob. Do you have a cousin named Bob?
Probably have one now.
No, it's actually Keith in Claremont. Hey, Keith, what's going on?
I'm doing fine. I had a big shock. I saw the player from John Marshall yesterday at the store yesterday. It shocked me yesterday.
Okay, well, I hope you both had masks on when you saw him.
He's 7 foot tall in the air. Yeah, he was 7 foot.
You're talking about big Roosevelt Wheeler, who's committed to play his college hoops at Louisville, right?
Yeah, I saw him yesterday. I was so shocked at him, man. I look at him and I say, man, you way taller than me. I'm his.
Well, yeah, if he's 7 foot tall, I would suspect he's taller than you, Keith, because you're not 7 foot tall. How tall are you, Keith, for those out there wondering?
I'm about 6'1.5".
All right, so you were a combo guard back in your day, right?
Yes, sir. I can lead too now.
Okay. I can believe it.
Coach Ed Young?
Keith, I'm doing fine. I'm just trying to imagine. You sure you're 6'1.5"?
Yeah, about 6'1.5".
Okay, because I swear to God you were 5'11". You must be getting taller since we last saw you.
Yeah, my dad, he tall too.
It's all that stretching Keith does. Keith does a lot of stretching. So
well, the big fellow, Roosevelt, when you see him in the store, he's the guy that used to take stuff off the top shelf.
Yes, and when I saw him yesterday, I couldn't believe it. I saw him in the store up in Richmond yesterday.
Now, on a serious note, how is he doing? Because, I heard he tore his Achilles, so he wasn't going to play if there was going to be a season for John Marshall, which there's not going to be. Is he looking okay? How's his recovery going? Did you get a chance to ask him, or?
I didn't get a chance to ask him. It was too many people was in the store, and I couldn't ask him.
Well, you got to be safe and be careful.
Social distancing, Keith.
That's true.
Are you wearing your mask?
Yeah, I got my mask and I got a shield.
Good.
Okay, so you're really protected.
Yeah, that's what we like there. By the way,
I got a mask and a shield on.
I think that's a good pickup for Louisville getting Roosevelt Wheeler. I think he can play there and be a protector. Yeah, he became an intimidating presence last year, I thought. But did well in our Virginia Preps Classic against Oscar Smith when John Marshall won. What else is happening, Keith?
We got the brothers playing tomorrow. 2 brothers playing tomorrow for both on one team, Buffalo Bills and Steelers.
You're talking about the Edmonds brothers that hail from Danville, former Hokie greats. Yeah.
Hey, how y'all? I know basketball shut down for. I don't know. Is basketball shut down for a while for high school?
Yeah, we
the rant, folks. Here it goes.
Yeah, Suffolk has pulled the plug temporarily on sports. Games have been moved back to January 11th. We're supposed to start our season, I think, December 30th. Of course, the state is allowed to start December 21.
Well, yeah, I was going to say 21st.
So now we're down. We got a week of practice in. I still have to make a few more cuts with our squad. I like what I saw on the court. We're a little different looking than we were last year. Last year we had, of course, the kid that second team All-State, Justin Farley. I think he was fourth in the state in scoring. We ran everything through him. This year it's a little bit more spread out. So, I think we can be all right by the end of the year. But now, Keith, to be honest, my biggest worry is if we even have a season.
Let's hope we get something done. I know the guys, those seniors, man. You got seniors from different schools want to play some ball, man. It's gonna be hard for those seniors.
Well, it's everybody wants to play. Kids are tired of being in the house a lot, and Matt and I were talking about this last night, back and forth on different things. And it's on the one hand, the kids need to play. We want to be so close to normal. On the other hand, we're not in a normal situation. This pandemic is real. This virus is real. The numbers are going up, and it's supposedly going to get worse. So if you're going to err on the side of caution, as everybody uses that phrase, this is what you do. But it is extremely tough to go through.
Yes, and last thing I'm going to give my daughter shout out to Coach Porters and the rest of the Smithfield coaching staff this morning. Shout out to them guys.
I'm sure they're listening. I'm looking forward to seeing the Packers, either whether it's in person or off the computer screen through the NFHS network or some streaming method. I think he's got a pretty competitive team coming back for him there at Smithfield. So, Keith, you be well. We've got one more holiday show next week before the break, and then we'll be back January 9th after the 19th show. So you get all your Christmas shopping done. You stay safe, all right?
Yes, sir.
That is the one and only Keith.
Merry Christmas to you if we don't hear from you next week.
Same to you. Merry Christmas to y'all, too.
Merry Christmas to Keith from Claremont, Virginia. Hey, let's go back to the phone, 757-687-9494. This is a guy we know, Tim Goetz. How you doing, Coach? How you doing out there?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Appreciate you calling in.
Hey, Tim.
Kings Fork former coach. How you been?
Oh, man, I'm telling you what, this pandemic is making it tough on everybody, especially athletes.
No kidding. I went on a Twitter rant the other day, and I'm saving for Ed to have a rant for us here, Coach, in that I feel like the VHSL, if we're talking about health and safety here, and I think we all want the kids, whether we're administrators, fans, coaches, players, you name it, I think we all want the kids to play as safely as possible. But I feel like if they really want to err on the side of caution and make it equitable for everybody, which is my emphasis here, not just one sport or season, I feel like if they pushed it back, and even the governor said outdoor activities are not as dangerous at this moment as indoor activities. If they just let fall and football sports go February 15th, a week earlier than expected, let them go 6 weeks, have a playoff, potential overlap, which I know is not the best thing in the world, but if we got to share athletes and make it work for the betterment of the kids during a pandemic, I think if that's the worst thing, so be it. Basketball start up end of March, beginning of April, and then the spring sports start up middle of May. I think we can get 6+ weeks in for all those sports, and it be done by the end of June when school lets out.
Well, I think that's a great idea. The only thing is, what are the metrics going to look like in the next 2 months? That's the whole problem.
Good point, but I would say to you on that, I think they'll look better than they are looking now, and they're not looking too hot right now.
No, they're not. And look, I had a question, especially for Ed. So, the Virginia High School League just came out with this having to wear masks during games. Now, is that going to be something that is mandatory, or how's that going to work? Because the way I look at it, if I'm coaching and my guys have to wear masks, then your guys have to wear masks. Or what about if one team decides they want to wear and one team doesn't? I mean, how is that fair? And then if whatever mask you wear, those aren't the same either. So how is that mask thing going to play out for basketball?
Great
Tim,
question.
Yeah, that is a very good question.
Great question, yeah.
That I haven't really put a lot of thought in it, other than the fact it's hard. It's going to be hard for kids to wear a mask, running up and down, jumping up and down, heart rate's going up. Some kids have trouble with asthma. And even if you don't have trouble with asthma, wear a mask and do physical activity over a sustained amount of time. It gets it gets really tough. And I understand everything of why we're doing this, but your questions are very good because now you've lit fire under me where if I've got kids wearing them and the other team isn't, I'm on the referees like, okay, now does the Virginia High School League give the power to the referees to say, if a kid don't have a mask on, you tee him up? Now, what I really think is going to happen to be like a equipment issue. The kid comes in the game with his shirt out. They send him back out before he can come back in. Sometimes if a kid has his shirt out and a referee has to tell him 2 or 3 times, the referee will tell the coach, number 20's got to come out. Of course, I will say, well, what for? Coach's shirt's out. I've told him 2 or 3 times. Now, either you take him out or I give him a technical. Which one you want? Well, of course, you're going to take a kid out. Tuck it in, you go right back in. So I would imagine it will come under that, but still, you bring up a really in-depth point. What kind of mask? Obviously, some are much more cumbersome. I'm going to tell my kids, just wear something that you feel you can breathe. And obviously, we got to practice it. We've got to have the kids in the practices, putting a mask on, get a feel what it's like. Up and down, you're going to have to do it because anything you got to do in the game, we got to practice it no matter what it is. And I guess my mind stopped thinking when they shut us down the other day, right after our last practice that we got shut down, that who knows when we're coming back and if we're even going to need the mask. But it will be a point that needs to be addressed, and I think the VHSL has to clarify it.
Yeah, I think that, your points are good. My question is, a lot of people wear these gaiters, kind of go over the nose and go around their neck, and they're pretty easy to breathe through. And if you've got one team who has gaiters on, which apparently don't work very well to begin with, but if you have one team that has gaiters on and one has N95 mask on, which are a lot harder to breathe through, how is that competition going to be fair if people are laboring on one side and not on the other? I just don't know how that's going to be played out.
Well, it's a very, very good point, and it has to be addressed because it is something really, really new, and it's something big. It's not something minor. Oh, you can just do it. No. This is something big that affects a person's energy level.
Yeah, and it needs to be fair. And I'm just thinking that the VHSL is going to have to mandate that there's a certain type of, mask that's worn and everybody has to wear the same kind. And, maybe teams have to purchase them so that everybody's using the same thing, so everybody's breathing at the same difficulty rate.
You're right, because it's like they do with headbands and wristbands and sleeves and whatever. There's certain rules to anything that you put on. So I think they're going to have to really specify probably it'll be more than just one type of mask, I got to believe. And again, you could play around with this mask deal. You can come out with one that's fishnet. It's a mask.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you going to do about it? And there will be coaches out there who will have their kids wearing a fishnet mask because it is a mask, but it's not appropriate. So, it's a good point. This is why Tim Getz should still be coaching. The guy still mind is always thinking. I keep getting on him. Every time I see him, I wasn't going to go on this rant, but I'm going to do it. For the people don't know, Tim Getz was an absolutely fantastic basketball coach who decided to step away a little bit. And I'm still waiting for the little bit to end and him get back because he is tremendous.
Maybe soon. We'll see.
Well, hey, I got to ask this too. I got to ask a personal question. How's the daughter doing?
She's doing well. Well, staying safe, staying indoors. This whole pandemic has been a whole nightmare as far as that's concerned. But she's doing well, and I appreciate you asking.
Well, I'm hoping and keeping praying as always, and I know the story you told me before, and I'm really glad to hear.
Yep. You guys have a great day, and take care.
All right, Tim. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, thank you for calling in. Tim Getz there, joining us, former Kings Fork Hoops coach. Real quickly before we get maybe one more call in and go to break here, we did a media day Zoom. Prince William County Sports and Entertainment yesterday invited me to participate on it as one of the media members with a lot of the coaches in the Prince William County area, which Potomac and others. And I asked the question flat out to Keith Honore of Potomac yesterday. Ed, he's a 2-time state championship basketball coach. I know you respect him and know him quite well. I said, do you think the game will be played slower now with the requirement of masks? And he paused and he said, it has to. I mean, if you can still play the game and do what you do, he says, but we've never done this before. It's going to affect the speed of the game and some of the things you do. It's going to alter, some of the styles of play. And ultimately, he does believe the speed of the game. Would you concur with that?
It's going to affect the game. What do we, as coaches, one of the things we tell our kids, you got to communicate, you got to talk on the court. It's one of the things I was screaming about this past week. We've got to communicate. Well, now with a mask on,
you're not hearing a guy from the baseline to the. No, it's not happening.
It's going to take it away, because the more energy you expound with a mask on, the harder it is to breathe.
Well, and I'm not going to go on a major rant here to bash the VHSL, but I think this was just covering their heinies, to be perfectly honest with you, about we're making sure everything's health and safety. If you can't play, you can't play. See, we're going to crown our champions. We don't care if it's, 2 schools that, are under 500 when we get to the point, because 21 school divisions and 38 schools have pulled out, and it's going to be double or triple that by the first of the year. We don't care. And Jeremy Hartman, head boys basketball coach at Wilson Memorial, said, let me approach this from a health standpoint for people that don't get it. Wearing a mask while exercising, which requires a greater oxygen exchange, can result in increased amounts of CO2 being inhaled. It can cause headaches. A kid could inhale microfibers from the mask. Doesn't make sense. My child plays hard and sweats hard. He tried to practice in a mask about 30 minutes in, and the mask was so full of sweat he couldn't breathe adequately. But this is what we're supposed to do to make kids do right?
It's a problem.
It's a fair point. And they don't want to address it. They just want to dodge it, because they're, again, I could go on a long rant about this myself. I just feel like this is their way to cover their bases. Look, we're doing it for health. Well, really, is it? I don't know if it is in the best interest of health and safety. I think everybody should be wearing a mask in the building, if you're on the bench, if you're coaching. But to run up and down the court with it, it doesn't comprehend with me whatsoever. Let's take one more call here before break and talk to Alan in Chesapeake. You're on ESPN Radio 94.1, Alan.
Hey there, how you doing?
Doing well.
Morning, Alan.
All right. I was just listening to the dialogue here. If the players are going to be required to wear masks, I feel like whoever's requiring them to wear them should supply the same type of mask for all of the players.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Great point, Alan. I would concur with that 100%.
It's not going to happen, but it's a great point.
Now, you don't think it would happen?
No, I don't see the Virginia High School League putting out the money for every single athlete in every single school that's playing every single sport.
So we're not talking about them, the high school, requiring the players to wear them. We're not. That's not what we're saying.
He's talking about that, Alan. He's just saying he doesn't think they'll supply it because of the financial burden it would put on the Virginia High School League, which has not really brought in any money since the state championship game that they had the day that the state of emergency was declared, when we had John Marshall and Gate City played. But it's about health and safety. It's not about money. That's why we're going to have championships. Yeah. Okay.
Well, see, Alan, it's not the schools mandating you wear the mask. It's VHSL has said that they want the athletes wearing masks, except for swimmers.
Right.
And I think wrestlers don't have to wear masks. But everybody else does. And now when we get into football season, think about, kids got a helmet on, which retains heat, and also a mask, and some of them wear shields. Now, how's that kid going to survive under all that? But if the VHL says you have to wear a mask, I like what you're saying, Alan, then they should supply those masks to all schools, but that would be a pretty decent cost.
Right. Okay. Just a thought.
No, it's a good thought.
It's a good
Thank
one.
you for chiming in, Alan.
One.
We appreciate you listening and calling in. Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks, Alan.
We'll take a timeout. Again, 757-687-9494. We'll get you in here to talk about the masked marvels and everything else when it comes to sports, high school, college, or pro. We'll take a timeout. More to do right here on ESPN Radio 94.1.